Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roxanne, would you do a roll call, please?
No, I cannot, because I cannot see names. Mr. Schmelly?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Kopp?
Yes.
Ms. Spees? She's no longer. Oh, she's not with, okay. And Ms. Holman?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Lots of visitors. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the September 9th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from September or November, September.
September 9th.
Yeah.
Second.
Motion by Judy, second by Eric. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Also, I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda and meeting rules for December 9th.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. I'll second it.
Motion by Eric, second by Ron. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Schedule public hearing. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Judy, second by Ron. All in favor? Opposed? Doug, would you like to start us off, please?
Good evening, everyone. I've given you several documents. One is, well, first of all, you should have two notebooks. One is a copy of the applications that have been submitted by EDP Energy Renewables. The other one is the thinner notebook, is a notebook that's provided several different exhibits that they have provided for us as well. I received this application on approximately August the 8th of 2025. Since then, we've been doing a lot of work in the background, and so I'll go through the staff report just briefly, and then if you have any questions, I would certainly entertain any questions. We also have with us our Township Legal Counsel, Seth Coaches, who's been involved with this process, and at the other end of the room we have Roxanne Sieber, our another attorney from our law firm, and she can assist us if we have any questions as well. So in your original staff report, pages 3 through 27 are listed the parcels that are in question this evening. On that same page is a list of the 300-foot mailing radius that notice was sent out to. And then at the bottom of each page, it will tell you the project type on this parcel and what my review was. Then beginning on page 73 and 74, the township did do a third-party resource for an engineering firm to do an engineering review of this application. That is in your staff report again on pages 73 and 74. Starting on page 76 through 95 is the emergency response plan. It was given out to you in a separate handout, but I did incorporate it as well into your staff report. On page 97 through 102, we actually did two public hearing notices. One was on November the 14th, which was kind of a basic notice, just letting everybody know that the hearing was coming up. Let me back up a minute. I take that. On November the 7th, the basic notice was put in the newspaper and sent out to everybody within 300 feet of the parcels. Then again on November 14th, another notice was put in the newspaper and a second notice sent out to everybody within 300 feet, which is a much more detailed public hearing notice that gives you an exhibit of all the parcels that are identified in this application. Back on page 106 of my staff report starts my review of what I find with this application. As I indicated, I do believe that the Planning Commission needs to discuss probably with legal counsel Section D as it relates to screening and security. Page 107 also continues part of my review. It also includes down towards the bottom of the page, page 107, you'll see a section that says conditions requested. There are 5 requests that the six requests that the applicant has for the Planning Commission to consider. And then on the remaining of page 108 is my recommendation to the Planning Commission. I have also given you some supplemental information. There should be 3 of them. One says supplemental information number 1. That supplemental information concludes correspondence from EDP Renewables containing land use and preservation information, environmental best and safety questions, economic impact, governance and transparency, legal and regulatory questions, and miscellaneous questions. Also in supplemental 1 is correspondence from Beth and Brenda Hubbard, and also from Rita and Jim Bickle. Supplemental information number 2 consists of a memorandum from the township attorney, a PowerPoint from our township attorney, a letter from Lisa Rockwell, a financial data from Lisa Rockwell, a letter from Naomi Ledman, a letter from Mike and Eileen Majerski, a letter from Lois, I believe it's Cole, and an email from Grace and Dud. Supplemental information number 3, that didn't come in until 3 o'clock this afternoon, and that is a email letter from Michael Seal. I am going to place all these in the record. Some of them have asked that these be read in its entirety out loud. I can tell you my voice will not hold up that long, and we will just enter these into the record as submitted communication. You also have another document that did come from our legal counsel, which is resolution number 2025-01, which is a resolution kind of also representing the finding of facts regarding this request. That's basically the information before you. I think you've had time to review it. Again, the application, there are 25 applications here. I required that each parcel that was involved have a separate application, so that if we had to found an error with one of them, we could pull one of them out of the mix and not have to spoil an entire application. So unless you have some questions for me, I believe that's the gist of my reports to you, and I don't know whether our Township Council would like to add in anything regarding that as well.
So good evening. As Doug said, my name is Seth Coaches with the law firm of Bachman, Sieber, Kaufman and Coaches. And as part of this review process, Doug provided me a copy of the application. And anytime that we have a renewable energy project, what I always ask the township to do is to retain a planning consultant to help with that process. Because there are a lot of different aspects of the application that I'm not an engineer, so I don't know the answers to those questions. And sometimes that falls a little bit outside the scope of the zone administrator's duties. So in this case, they did engage Williams & Works. It's a planning consultant in Grand Rapids, and they provided a letter of the aspects of the application that they reviewed, and that letter has been entered into the record. I think it's been made available to all of you. So generally, Doug described the application and introduced it to you, and then I'll just kind of give you my remarks about what the renewable energy and solar energy. I'm sure the developers here, they may have something to tell you about their project, and at that point, once they're done giving their presentation, you're welcome to ask them any questions. I can answer any questions if something comes up. And then once that concludes, then you do the public comment portion of the public hearing and accept comments from the general public. And as you can see, there's a lot of people here. So what I did was I sent a few PowerPoint slides down to the Planning Commission. I wasn't sure how familiar the group was, or even public, with Public Act 233. Okay, and every time I go to these meetings, and I've had the experience of going to enough renewable energy public hearings that I find it generally helpful to at least explain to the Planning Commission, but then also to the public of PA 233 and what type of constraints that puts on us as a township as a whole, and more specifically on the Planning Commission. So what the state of Michigan decided to do was to enact a public act that basically preempts our zoning ordinances regarding renewable energy. Okay, and when I say renewable energy, I'm talking about battery, wind, and solar. So tonight you have an application that's solar and battery. And within Public Act 233, it sets forth different standards that the state legislation says this is what the developer needs to comply with. Now, a lot of townships look at this and say, you know, I want to develop a more restrictive ordinance. And that's okay, you can do that. A lot of townships do that. And in this case, that's exactly what Fabius Township did. They adopted a battery energy storage systems ordinance and a solar ordinance as well. Now, because this is more restrictive than what the state says, the developer they have two options, right? They can either go directly to the state and not work with us. And some developers do that. I think there's 3 applications pending in the state right now. And although we get intervener funds to go up and advocate on behalf of the township, and we do have somewhat of a voice, we don't get to make the decision up there. Okay, that's the decision that the Michigan Public Service Commission makes. Okay, it's an administrative body that the governor appointed to review those applications. So we haven't had an application fully reviewed yet by the MPSC, so it's difficult for me to give you guidance on what to expect up there because there just is no precedent. Okay. Now, in this case, as I said, the township adopted a battery energy storage and solar ordinance. And because it's more restrictive, the developer, they looked at it and they concluded that it's workable, otherwise they wouldn't be here. They would have gone to the state. And when I say workable, what that means is the township adopts an ordinance that's more restrictive than what's in PA Public Act 233. The developer submitted their applications to work within the scope of that ordinance. And anytime an application for special land use comes before the township, you have to process it, whether it's a gas station, a PUD, or whether it's a solar energy ordinance, right? We have to process it, and it took a while to process this too, right? The application was pretty big, right? So that brings us to where we are today, okay? And that's the public hearing. As part of that process, you do have to publish notice of public hearing and do the mailings within 300 feet. It's my understanding that the township took care of that, and it's in compliance with the Zoning Enabling Act and the Open Meetings Act. So that allows us to move forward here. So just some general thoughts about renewable energy applications. Typically, the zoning administrator, they're gonna provide you details about the site plans. They're gonna review the ordinance and make sure setbacks are all set, review landscaping and all the things that you see in there. And then with my role as township attorney, typically what I do is I look at the special land use standards, and then also the Zoning Enabling Act allows us to attach what's called reasonable conditions. Because every ordinance, it's not going to be all-encompassing, right? There's still going to be some areas of nearly every ordinance where you have to kind of fill in the blanks, right? And that's where reasonable conditions come in, okay? And with renewable energies, when we work on these projects, we've seen over the years the types of conditions that we typically recommend that we think is beneficial to the township if this application gets that far. I'm here to tell you what you need to know about the law. I'm not here to decide an application for you. Okay, you have the policy decision. You've been appointed to the PC, so it's the policy decision that you make here. Okay. Now, when we look at the special land use standards, it's in your zoning ordinance, and there's 4 standards that you have to look through, and I believe that's in section 46.620C. And there's 4 standards. What you're going to have to do is, when the time comes, you're going to have to go through every single one and make a finding. Is this standard satisfied or not satisfied? That's your job. You have to explain why you're reaching the conclusion that you are. That supports the decision you make, whatever that decision may be. Now, after you go through the finding of fact, I can tell you this is language from the Zoning Enabling Act. It says, if the special land use standards are satisfied, you must approve. Okay, that's not me, that's what the Zoning Enabling Act says. It's the same thing for site plan. If site plan standards are satisfied, you shall approve, you must approve. Okay, that's what the Zoning Enabling Act says. And I provided the statutory citations for you. Now, secondly, when we talk about conditions, and I did have an opportunity to go through this application and it's a big application. But typically when we see conditions, they have to comply with all state, local, federal laws, township ordinances. I know that's straightforward, right? But I always like to memorialize that in writing, right? That way, because what's going to happen is I'm going to ask that if there's an approval, that the resolution and conditions are recorded on the deeds of the property. That way, everyone's on notice of what that is. Decommissioning, for me, this is sort of a red line when we talk about renewable energy projects. And specifically, with the state of Michigan, their decommissioning says salvage value. Okay, what that means is the recycled value. We're not a recycling center, are we? No, so I'm never going to recommend that salvage value is part of the decommissioning process. It's got to be the actual cost of decommissioning. Okay, and there's things we could talk about with decommissioning. I mean, think about 5 years ago what a gallon of milk cost compared to what it costs today, right? It's a lot more. So there's things to do about updating that decommissioning amount, that bond that they're going to have to post throughout the years to account for inflation. They're going to have to establish here that it's valid throughout the life of the project, and expectancy of this project might be, I don't know, 30 to 40 years, that they can tell you about that. And we're not going to accept salvage value, okay? Something else, I get asked a lot of questions about roads and drains. Okay, so I can't compel the St. Joseph's County Road Commission to enter into an agreement with the developer. Okay, that's we don't have authority over that. But what I can ask the Planning Commission to do is consider a recommendation or a condition that says consult with the County Road Commission and obtain any approvals and let us know what those approvals are, so we know. And that way, if the public asks the township, you know what they are, they know what it is too. And it's the same thing with the Drain Commission. As far as construction goes, if there's an approval, any development project, there's going to be construction, right? It's going to be noisy. So a lot of times we look at setting hours of operation, and that's within your discretion. For example, whatever, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., something like that. But that way you're regulating and you know when that construction is going to occur. And sometimes, too, you could ask the developer to provide notice of when construction is going to begin to all the property owners that got those mail notices within 300 feet of the project. So they're aware of what to expect as well. Transfer of ownership. So this happens from time to time, right? A project is built, whatever that project may be, and it sells. It sells to another company, whatever it may be. And we need to know when that happens because we need to know who's taking over for this. We need to know who to contact. Okay, so that's another thing that we asked the developer to do too. Get a lot of questions about emergency response, and they did provide an emergency response plan. So I'm not a firefighter. Okay, what I always tell the Planning Commission what they need to know is your fire chief needs to look at this. Okay, they need to understand it, and they need to be able to say, yes, I approve this. Okay, condition I always recommend is upon approval of the fire chief. Okay, they might need, they being the developer, they may need to have to provide training to your firefighters, right? It's a different type of use. Battery storage in Michigan, and solar to an extent too. It's different, right? It might be different, probably a lot different than a house fire, especially battery storage. So if they need to provide training, they're going to be required to do that at the request of the fire chief. And additionally, if your fire department doesn't have the type of equipment they need to be able to deal with this safely for the firefighters and also to adequately respond to the emergency, then they need to provide you that equipment as well, so you guys can do your job. All right. Those are my comments in a nutshell. I know that's a lot of information, and I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with Public Act PA 233. And what I always tell, I've been in rooms like this plenty of times throughout Michigan, right? There's a bunch of people here, and we appreciate that because I understand that it's because people care and they want to know. And sometimes they do have hard questions that you have to listen to and sometimes answer. And all I tell people is Public Act 233 is what it is. It was a decision that the state made. It's not something that this township was necessarily involved in. Right? Our firm is the general counsel to the Michigan Townships Association. And because of that, we do get a seat with the legislator to provide input. And from day one, our township, our firm, as general counsel to MTA, has taken the position opposing PA 233. We wanted the local units to remain in control of how you develop your land use, what you allowed by right, what you allowed by condition or special land use. We didn't get a seat at the table. Okay, that's out of my control too. and now you have the legislation being what it is. So what that boils down to is, do you want to process it locally, or is it going to go to the state? Okay, and sometimes the hard answer that I tell townships that really no one likes to hear, but you need to hear, is, Seth, how long is this going to take? Seth, when does this end? And you know my answer is, it ends when that project's constructed and online. It's just a matter of where that happens. With that said, you still need to run through your standards. I'm not telling you how to decide your application, but you have to go through it, make findings of fact, listen to the developer, ask questions if you have them. You're probably going to get a lot of public comment, that's expected. Public comment is part of the review process as well. And then you go through the standards. I'll help you walk through that too. Okay? Is there anything I can answer? Is there any questions?
Did a good job.
Okay.
Andy, can I just add 2 comments?
Yes.
So as it relates to the County Road Commission, we have already addressed that issue, that any point that there will be a driveway coming off of a public road, they will, number 1, get an address assigned on that road, and number 2, they will get a road construction permit from the County Road Commission to do so. Then if we ever have an emergency, each one of those roads will have a 5-digit address that will be logged into the 911 system, and so it would shorten any response times that we may have. As it relates to training, that's already been discussed as well. Our fire chief has tentatively gone over this plan and does approve of it, but it's already been agreed upon as well with the applicant that it is our intent to hold a training for all fire, EMS, and police services that may ever have to get involved in this. So that would be St. Joe County and Cass County, to hold a training someplace. It may have to be more than one training because of the numbers, but to actually train our emergency services and our emergency manager for the county in case we do ever have a call that would need those type of services. So those have been already covered and are in the works.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Seth or Doug? I know a lot of you are curious about the application. This is it. A lot of information. Okay, next, Ally, would you like to do your presentation, please?
Yeah. Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Is it this microphone here? Can you all hear me?
No.
People back there? No. I might just
Got it, Ally?
is it here? Oh yeah. There it is.
I think you can tip it that way too. Maybe. Don't let me shove it in your nose. Try that.
Is that better? Yeah? People back there can hear me? Okay. Great. I'm just going to move it back a little bit. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for taking the time to be here and for hosting this public hearing. We left PowerPoint presentations in the back table. If anyone doesn't have a copy, they're in the back table. To begin, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Ally Stano. I'm Director of Development at EDP Renewables. I've been with the company for about 7.5 years now. We've got other folks as well from EDPR, and then a few team members from the 2 engineering consulting firms that helped put together this permit application and the associated studies. We've got Eric here from Kimley Horn, and then Ken from Fire and Risk Alliance, and they'll be able to jump in and answer questions tonight as well. Just a little bit of background too quickly about EDP Renewables for those of you that haven't heard of our company before. We are a long-term owner and operator of renewable energy projects throughout North America. We've got over 60 wind farms in operation and then over 25 solar parks. throughout the country. And I will say that the Midwest is kind of the heartbeat of our operations here. So we've got a lot of experience in Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and we have 3 great projects in development here in Michigan. One is starting construction this month. Flipping on to the next page that says agenda. This is going to be about a 20-minute presentation. We, of course, aren't going to be able to cover all of the topics included in our permit application, but are happy to answer any other questions that could come up. I'll start with an overview of the project as a whole and then really start narrowing in on the Fabius portion of the project, which is what we're here to talk about tonight. We'll talk about the community benefits and then just some of the main topics that we've got questions in the past from the commission as well as folks from the community. If we flip on to the next page, you'll see a blue and green map. This is an overview of the full project. And so as many of you all know, Three Lakes Solar and Storage spans across Newburgh Township as well as Fabius Township. In total, it's 300 megawatts. That's the equivalent of powering about 72,000 homes in Michigan. Throughout Newburgh and Fabius, over 50 landowners have signed lease, collection, and transmission agreements with us to participate in the project. There are over 100 parcels that are included and signed for Three Lakes Solar and Storage. All of the project parcels are on private property. We submitted permit applications earlier this year at the same time to both Newburgh and Fabius Township. We did receive our permit approval from Newburgh in July of 2025, and then we're here today to talk about the Fabius portion. We are planning on starting construction in 2027 and going throughout 2028 and then being operational by end of 2029. Flipping on to the next page that's titled Fabius Township Overview. This slide provides an overview of the Fabius-specific portion of this project. The site plan and the permit application and studies that we've submitted to Fabius meet the requirements of the Fabius Township zoning ordinances. We are, as you all have seen, including up to 50 megawatts of solar in Fabius. That's a little bit under a third of the full solar portion of the project. And then we've cited the 122 megawatts of battery storage in Fabius, so the full battery storage here in Fabius Township. The Fabius footprint is all on private land as well, and there are 17 landowners specifically within Fabius that have signed up to participate in the project. The site plan included in the permit application is just under 400 acres of fenced-in facilities, and that includes about 10 acres specifically for the battery storage portion of the project. As you all have seen, the binders are big. There's 44 pages of design. That detailed design includes a host of information, including where the solar facilities and the BESS facilities are sited. It also includes information on where the project substation and the operations building will be sited, as well as all of the different constraints, so wetlands, woodlots, setbacks, etc. And then lastly, we have other features included such as drainage, contours, and then our landscape screening plan, which is indicated as a green line on the last set of design pages in the site plan. And then most importantly, this site plan meets the township zoning ordinance requirements, specifically staying within the Fabius solar and battery storage overlay district. I will point out that there are 3 acres of fenced-in facilities included on the site plan on one parcel that are just outside of the solar overlay district, still within the criteria of the ordinance. The ordinance does state that if a parcel is 75% within the overlay district, we can include facilities outside on that same parcel. Ultimately, it is up to the commission to accept whether they would allow those 3 acres to stay included in the site plan or not. But the parcel that we do have it cited on is 89% within the overlay district. So just wanted to point that out. Okay, flipping on to the next page that talks about economic benefits. So apart from supporting the regional grid and providing reliability to the grid, this project also brings economic benefits to the community. First of all, this project is expected to generate over $77 million in tax revenue over the life of the project. The first year alone, $6 million will go to different local services within St. Joe and Cass County, the biggest benefactor being the local school district. So you have Three Rivers, Constantine, and Marcellus that are receiving over $3.5 million in the first year alone of operations. And then in addition to the tax benefits, there will also be direct financial benefits, not only going to the landowners hosting infrastructure, but we are also offering voluntary neighbor agreements to homeowners that have a home that's directly adjacent to a parcel hosting project infrastructure. This is something that EDPR does at all of our projects, and it's a way to include more of the community in the project as a way to receive a direct financial benefit. So again, this is a voluntary agreement. Someone can choose to participate or not. We would not be allowed to put project facilities on their parcel, but they would get an annual payment. We've estimated that about $3.5 million over the life of the project would go to these neighbors should everyone decide to participate. I will say too, we've already started talking with some of the neighbors, both in Newburgh and Fabius, but this is an ongoing process and are happy to talk to neighbors at any time. The next slide is titled Permitting Approach. We submitted a permit to Fabius and then a separate permit to Newburgh back in June of 2025. And then, as Doug mentioned, we submitted several other exhibits over the coming months after that. The permit application that we submitted meets the requirements of the Fabius Township zoning ordinances 173 and 184. We've been working with Fabius pretty closely now for about over a year. That includes attending almost all of the monthly planning commission meetings as well as a handful of the township trustee meetings. We've given 7 public comments at 7 separate meetings over the last year, starting in November, and have had opportunity to not only ask questions of you all, but to also answer questions coming from the board and then also the community. And then there have also been several newspaper articles in the Three Rivers Commercial News that have featured this project specifically as a way to provide more information to the broader community here in Cass and St. Joe. And then lastly, as I kind of mentioned at the beginning, we had industry expert firms help put this permit application together. So starting with Kinley Horn, they put together not only the site plan, but the majority of the studies, so sound, glare, vegetative screening, decommissioning, etc. They're a national engineering firm and have expertise in working with developers and townships to put together permit applications. And then lastly, we've got Fire and Risk Alliance here. They specifically prepared the battery energy storage emergency response plan for this project. FRA, if you all don't know, is a national engineering firm comprised of firefighters, engineers, and safety experts. Great group to work with and have provided a lot of information for this project specific to battery storage. Okay, the last few slides, I'm just going to cover some of the major studies and components of the project that have come up, first starting with vegetative screening. So as you'll see on this slide, we do meet the vegetative screening requirement listed in the Fabius Township ordinance. That includes planting evergreen trees and shrubs around roads and homes in the project area. There are also specific spacing requirements included in the ordinance, and our site plan and application details that we will be meeting those requirements as well. The trees will be planted at 4 feet and shrubs at 2 feet, which is another ordinance requirement. And then we expect the trees to reach maturity around 10 years, and that total height is 10 to 15 feet for the evergreen trees. And then lastly, vegetative screening is a big component of the outreach that we do with landowners and neighbors. So we did host 2 days of coffee hours earlier this summer to sit down directly with neighbors and landowners of the project to show them the screening plan that we have in place as it relates to their property or their parcel. Flipping on to the next page, visual simulation. As part of screening and as also part of the Fabius Township ordinance, we provided a visual or a photo simulation plan. These are graphic representations of how the project looks with screening installed. And so what we've done with Fabius is we included 3 different viewpoints. So one from Youngs Prairie Road, another one from N60, and then another one from Gleason Road. And with each viewpoint, there are 3 different photos. So the first photo shows existing conditions, no screening, no project facilities. The second photo shows project facilities and screening at the time of planting. And then the third photo in each visual simulation shows the project facilities and then screening at the 10-year maturity. So we've included an example here. This is the one off of Youngs Prairie Road. On the left, it shows the facilities and the screening at planting. And then the right shows the screening and facilities at 10-year maturity. The next slide details sound requirements. Three Lakes meets Fabius Township's sound requirements. This is also detailed in a sound study that we provided in the permit application. There is no component of the project that will exceed the 45 decibel sound requirement at the property line. To give a little bit additional background, the components of the project that do emit sound are the inverters from the solar park, the BESS HVAC system, and then the main power transformer that's located within the project substation. The inverters and the power transformer sound similar to a hum, and then the HVAC system sounds like a fan. These are, of course, not expected to be heard at areas outside of the project, such as a home, due to that requirement, the 45 decibels that we're meeting from the Fabius ordinance. 45 decibels, too, just for context, is a sound range that we are exposed to on a daily basis. 45 decibels is the sound of a refrigerator in one's home, and it's also similar to the sound of a quiet library. Okay, the next slide details the decommissioning requirements. Again, our project application meets the decommissioning requirements outlined in Fabius Township zoning ordinance. We have provided a decommissioning plan as part of the project application. The decommissioning plan outlines the decommissioning process, so how the site will be decommissioned, and then it also includes on the last page a chart of the costs of decommissioning. As mentioned, and this is a requirement, we've provided a decommissioning estimate that does not include salvage value, and we have committed to posting that financial security prior to start of construction, which is another requirement in the ordinance. Another thing that we do at our projects is typically enter into a decommissioning agreement with the township. That agreement memorializes our obligation to provide that financial security prior to start of construction, and that is something we intend on doing here as well with Fabius. As part of that decommissioning agreement, we include language that states that we will not only refresh the decommissioning plan every year, but make sure that that bond or financial security is also up to date and accounts for increased costs in labor or decommissioning or inflation, things like that. Okay, we've got 2 slides left. We really wanted to focus on battery storage since this is a new technology to the community and there have been questions about it. So wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to talk about that a little bit. And then if there are additional questions after the presentation, we're also happy to talk more about battery storage. Battery storage, and it's no different here at Three Lakes, is key to providing stability and reliability for our regional transmission grid. The great thing about battery, and this is the same at this project as well, is that these units can charge directly from the grid, which is that substation off of M60 right here. But at the same time, the battery units can charge from the solar portion of the project. And so when there isn't a large increase in demand on the grid, the batteries can actually charge from the grid or from solar, and then they can discharge instantaneously when there's high demand on the grid. So battery provides a way to meet energy demand when needed and to also help stabilize the grid. Okay, and then this last slide, I'm going to pass on to Ken from FRA. He is going to give an overview of safety features of battery energy storage. I think I was just going to conclude on the last page, but I will conclude now so that we don't have to flip-flop back and forth. I do want to thank everyone for your time, not only tonight, but for all of your time over the last year at all of the different meetings and the questions that we've been asking. And like I said, we are here to answer any further questions should they come up.
Good evening. I'm Ken Scanlon. I'm with Fire Risk Alliance. We're a fire safety engineering firm that's composed of engineers and also fire chiefs from around the country, and we make ERPs for a number of BESS sites around the country as well. So the technology at BESS has come a long way, and all of the safety features have followed not far behind. Codes have changed. We have NFPA 855, which is governing BESS sites throughout the country. This site is going to adhere to that, has all the safety features that are advised. Also UL 9540A, which is a forced failure of battery cells, modules at each level of the anatomy. And what this test, it ensures that it will not propagate to other equipment. So at a BESS site, there is going to be strobes for a response in case the fire department has to respond. They'll see a strobe and they'll hear a strobe, and they'll know which cabinet is having an issue. That's NFPA 72. It's going to have an alarm system as well. NFPA 1 is going to govern the size of the road within. It has to be 20 feet, no hairpin turns, so engines and trucks could navigate the property. There's also going to be smoke alarms, smoke detectors, and gas alarms. Now, the gas alarms are calibrated to hydrogen, to H2, because that's the gas that gets mostly emitted when these cells go into thermal runaway. They're calibrated to go off at 10% DLEL. At 25%, they'll kick on the fans. So these cabinets all have fans. That's NFPA 69. I'm boring you with these numbers. So NFPA 69, when that kicks on, it'll open two little portals on each side of the cabinet. It's going to intake air and exhale all of the hydrogen. And that keeps it from reaching an explosive range with hydrogen. We all know hydrogen is explosive, right? The Hindenburg. So these codes have come to be because of past events. So this ensures that these won't be able to explode. And then all of the alarms are going to have 4 smoke detectors and 3 of these gas detectors in each unit. They're also going to have a fire alarm control panel, and there will be one at the front gate as well. And you'll be able to access that and see if there is a problem, where the problem is. The biggest safety feature of these is the battery management system, the BMS we call it. So the BMS manages the battery cells to make sure they're not overcharged, over-discharged, and it also ensures that all of the cells in one module have the same amount of charge. It monitors their temperature and their state of charge. The temperature is the most important thing. Like Ali was saying, these cabinets all have an HVAC system, and the HVAC system is what keeps them in the temperature range they like to be. If they leave that range, the BMS is going to transmit a message to a central station that's staffed 24 hours a day. It's called the Remote Operations Center, and they'll isolate that cabinet. And if they don't do it, the BMS will isolate that cabinet automatically. And these are the safety features. A number of other safety features. For instance, the cabinets now all have an IP rating. That's a dust and water intrusion rating. Legacy systems didn't have these. It's IP55. So there's a number of safety features, and we give the trainings. So when the time comes, we'll meet with the chiefs and the local firefighters. We speak their language. I like to say I have a bachelor's degree in fire science and a doctorate in actually fighting fires. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. public comment. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first. Eileen Mazursky, Harder Road, Fabius Township. My question is about going to the state. They're always threatening we're going to go to the state. Well, I looked it up, and it seems like there's 250 other solar developers waiting in line to get approved. Do they get to just skip in front if you said no, or do you have to wait in a line? How does that work?
Elaine, this is going to be public comment. It's not going to be question and answer.
Oh, he said he would answer questions. I thought from
Or
the
questions.
public. Oh, so no questions? All right, well, I looked it up. I think they would wait in line, and it would take a very long time, up to 5 years right now. So I don't know if that's much of a threat, is my thing. And I hope you would consider that or have looked into it. And the other thing is, have you looked into what is the largest battery storage right now in Michigan? Because the one we have would be the biggest if you approve it. So, I don't know, why we're doing this or why the battery thing was ever approved. I can't even, I don't know who wanted that. I guess they wanted it. But I don't think the people in this town wanted it. I think you're hurting the value, our values of our homes. I don't know, I'm not getting paid, but I'm near it. And if you get the $750, I hope, or have $750,000 promised, that we should get it in our area where this thing is being put. Not somewhere else over by the lake or whatever. That money should go directly to the people affected by this. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
My name is Grayson Dudd, and my family has been in the area for generations. I have come this evening to express my concern over this request from Three Lakes Solar. These concerns include aesthetic and environmental pollution, as well as significant health hazards for the local population. I will not be concerning my comments on the dubious merits of solar fields in an area with an average of only 180 days of sun per year. Let me begin with the most potentially benign. I feel confident in speaking for most people here today that one of the reasons we live in a rural area is for its natural beauty. It's why we live here and why Chicagoans visit in droves in the warmer months. St. Joseph County, especially in the spring and summer, blooms into what looks like a temperate rainforest inlaid with dense fields of corn and soybeans. It's stunning and magnificent. Solar panel fields are not stunning and magnificent. If our current greenscape was equivalent to a Frank Lloyd Wright building, solar fields would be a Dollar General. Worse than them being an eyesore are the environmental impacts of having 400 acres of solar equipment. According to Environmental Progress, a Berkeley, California nonprofit, solar produces 300 times more toxic waste per unit of energy than nuclear. A study by the Stuttgart Institute for Photovoltaics showed that pollutants such as lead or carcinogenic cadmium can be almost completely washed out of the fragments of solar modules over a period of several months, for example by rainwater. Heavy metals found in solar panels include lead, arsenic, and cadmium. They also contain copper, indium selenide, copper, indium gallium, diselenide, hexafluoroethane, and polyvinyl fluoride, all reported to be highly toxic by a cancer biologist named David Nguyen. When solar panels are damaged by weather, mishandling, or improper disposal, these chemicals can leach into the soil. Here in Fabius, we have some unique and eventful weather patterns. I've been hailed on at least twice in the last year, and I bet by a show of hands, if they were to raise them, who has experienced property damage from a tornado or microburst in just the last couple of years. Let's say the weather is great for the next 20 or 30 years here without incident, which is the best case scenario life expectancy, as far as I know, for solar panels. When it comes to recycle or dispose of them, these toxic heavy metals, assuming they are still contained within the units, will require Resource Conservation and Recovery Act hazardous waste management. Without current federal subsidies and state-level mandates, the cost for decommissioning and disposal of the retired panels will prove to be a challenge for the solar industry in general. But my specific concern here is that Three Lakes Solar LLC is a subsidiary company of the much larger EDP Global, headquartered in Portugal. It is a known tactic in the oil and gas industry that large, unscrupulous companies will create smaller companies to use as shields to protect themselves from the responsibility of environmental disasters, stripping the assets out of the smaller company and declaring it bankrupt before having to pay for a cleanup. I have concerns that EDP could use similar tactics and hot potato the responsibility of cleanup onto the landowners and the community. Finally, Three Lakes Solar's plans include a battery energy storage system. The danger of these, of course, is thermal runaway. Basically, when the batteries overheat and catch fire, burning so hot and intensely that they are extremely difficult to extinguish. The real fun, though, from thermal runaway is that it releases hydrogen fluoride. It's fun because hydrogen fluoride forms hydrofluoric acid on contact with moisture, aka our bodies. From the National Institute of Health website, hydrofluoric acid is an extremely powerful inorganic acid and a vigorous dehydrating agent that is used in many industrial branches. Hydrofluoric acid is highly toxic and damaging. It penetrates into deep tissue, causing liquefactive necrosis and release of cellular products. Ingestion of solutions or inhalation of fumes and vapors with unintentional and intentional exposures of hydrofluoric acid presents with dermal burns, eye injury, acute respiratory systems, as well as causes systemic fluoride toxicity, including cardiovascular, pulmonary, renal, that's your kidneys, and neuromuscular symptoms, electrolyte imbalance, and enzyme inhibition, which can lead to cardiac arrhythmias and death. What's more, odorless, colorless gases like hydrogen fluoride can be present in dangerous concentrations even before visible smoke appears. I don't like the idea of being out on a Sunday drive or cruising around on the lake on the boat and being hit by a cloud of colorless, odorless gas, instantly converting on contact with the human body to an acid, causing severe lung damage and deep tissue burns with the possibility of death because a battery bank down the road malfunctioned.
Excuse me, Mr. Doug.
Yes, sir.
You're allowed 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm almost done. There is an old proverb, society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they will never sit in. We are the stewards of this little slice of planet Earth. What version of Fabius Township do we want to leave our children and grandchildren? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi.
We have 3 minutes to speak.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'm actually a Lockport Township resident. I'm representing some people that are at a Christmas program tonight. So my name's Ann Ryapel, Lockport Township on Haynes Road. And the question that I was asked to bring, and I know that you can't provide any answers, but has there been an environmental impact study completed for the area that is planned in the overlay? And if there has been, was that study done by a third party? And will it be available to not only the residents of Fabius Township, but to the St. Joe County and Cass County residents? So thank you for your time.
Good evening. Lisa Rockwell, Fabius landowner. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak this evening. I would like to talk not just about solar panels, but about the future of our community, our schools, our farms, our families, and the land that defines who we are. When a community like ours faces rising costs, aging infrastructure, and unpredictable budgets, we need stable partners. An industrial solar project brings exactly that, guaranteed tax revenue for 20 to 30 years, locked in by state law. That kind of long-term certainty is rare. It means stronger schools, better funded emergency services, and safer roads, without raising the taxes on the people who already work hard to make ends meet. The handout that was on the back table for the tax benefits is there for everyone to review. From that document, the first year of benefits for the 3 local schools of Three Rivers, Marcellus, and Constantine K through 12 equates to $650 per student in direct educational benefits. A $650 per student investment is not small. It is new textbooks, Chromebooks, mental health counselors, safer buildings, stronger music and sports programs, and better career and technical training. These are opportunities our kids deserve, but our rural districts often cannot afford. But beyond the dollars, solar projects protects what matters most here, our land. I've heard the concerns about losing farmland. I understand that fear. But the facts are, solar is one of the few land uses that is temporary and reversible. There is no concrete, no subdivisions, no permanent pavement. After the project's life, the land can return to full agricultural use. And in the meantime, the soil rests, builds organic matter, and avoids decades of chemical use and erosion. Solar is not the end of farming, it's a bridge that helps keep farming financially strong. So the next generation has something left to inherit. A well-managed solar project is far less disruptive than new housing, new industry, or vacant, neglected land. This project also sends a powerful message that our community isn't being left behind. Solar brings construction jobs, local spending, and long-term technical positions. It brings investment into rural towns that often get overlooked. And it helps local landowners, especially the farmers, to weather unpredictable crop markets, droughts, and rising equipment costs. In many cases, solar lease payments are the lifeline that keeps a family farm from being sold off piece by piece. But perhaps most importantly, this is about local energy independence and resilience. The world's changing. Energy costs are rising. Technology is constantly evolving. A solar project right here at home means we're producing affordable, clean electricity locally. It means we take part in building an energy future that benefits our kids and grandkids. Solar is a major component of the overall electricity generation mix. Solar helps the grid by lowering peak demand, reducing grid congestion, improving voltage support in rural lines, reducing wear on transmission and generation assets, lowering operating costs of the grid overall. So yes, this project is about solar power, but it's also about economic stability, responsible land use, support for family farms, and a stronger, more resilient rural community.
Lisa, your 3 minutes.
Little sons, we have a chance to secure new revenue, preserve our rural identity, help local families, and ensure this community is strong for the next generation. That is what this project offers, and that is what my family and I support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask somebody to open the back door? Yeah, just open it and thank you. Let some of the heat out.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
I'm Darrell Greiner from Newburgh Township. I'm a landowner over there, and we signed up for Eat with EDP. I'm a generational farm. I'm the 5th generation, and we want to continue farming. But in order to do that, we're using this money to keep farming because of today's economic downfall of farmers. Have you been paying attention? My son wants to keep farming. This is how it's going to have to help us do it. And I echo everything that Lisa said. I believe that we have set-aside programs. We have CRP programs. This is part of like a CRP program that's going to be in set-aside ground for 20, 30, 40 years. And it'll be a good rotational thing for it. I don't believe that we're going to lose a lot of things to that. I mean, we talk about bad things about the solar project. We have a dump right here, okay? Who knows what goes in it, right? What's in the bottom? You can see everything that's happening here. It's all above ground. So why not, let something like this happen? You see it visually. The solar, I would much rather have a solar project next to me than I would have a nuclear plant. things happen. Who knows what's going to happen with a nuclear plant when they refire it over it? They say it's going to be good, but right? So, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Nicole Cover. I live on Coon Hollow Road, Clear Lake, and I am a member of the Fabius Township and a tax-paying citizen. I want to address the statements being made about how the proposed solar and battery project will benefit our local schools. I am a former board member of the Three Rivers Community Schools. Developers will often suggest that these projects bring major new money to education. When we apply Michigan law and the actual numbers, the benefit is definitely smaller than what's being implied. All I would ask is that your attorney and you as a board do the facts and not allow things to be publicized that argue for millions of dollars that will be going back to the education. I'm a 1993 graduate of Three Rivers High School. All of our children went there. It doesn't equate to that amount of money going back to the school system. The number may sound substantial. It is not how it's divided. The school funding allows that to receive operating funds. Classroom budgets, none of that will go back to the school. They receive a small share tied to their debt millages. And if anybody doesn't know the debt millage for the Three Rivers High School, it's 4.90. So that levy will only equate to probably less than $7,000 when you redo that back based on the percentage that's back in Fabius Township. So I think allowing a PowerPoint and something to emotionally appeal to people. I certainly know and respect farmers. I'm very big into the farming industry. I'm also a pharmacist. And if you know anything about pharmacy with PBM reform, I don't allow somebody to come in and pay me lots of money to give them an opioid because I can't do that. We have to do what's right, and you have to do what's right as a board. Thank you.
Someone else?
Hello, my name is Buffy Mallow, and I am a Newburgh resident, Fabius Township resident. I want to say that, first of all, I'm very concerned about the health risks, what this gentleman back here said, so I'm not even going to talk about that. I just want to say I agree with him. I would have to ask you guys to look at the integrity of this company. I met her at Newburgh Township in July, and she was going to get in contact with me, and I got her phone number, and I called her many times, and we never connected. Her phone number was disconnected that I had. I explained to her when she showed me the sheets, I said, on this blue sheet, all this solar, my house is right in the middle. My house is right in the middle of that. And I talked to her about that, and she said that's just a big plan. That's just the overlay. I don't have anything against solar. I just don't want it 3 sides around my house. 4 sides. I'll look at it across the street and to the east, the west, and the south. All around my house. Like every window I look out will be solar. And that's what I had told her. My house is in the middle of it, and we talked in July, and I've never heard back from her. So I question her integrity.
Thank you.
My name is Kevin Mallow, and I'm her husband. We live in a historic house that we bought because it's historic. And it was run down. It was nearly, you know where we lived, Randy. I'm 62. I've spent half of my adult life working on that house. The last solar that was proposed, and when I sat down with Jay Beers and all of those folks, they promised me that my property value wouldn't go down. Anybody believe that? No. Okay. So here's my question. Y'all come out when I
put porches back on my house and reassess my house, and my taxes went up. Same when I put up a pole barn, understandably. When this surrounds my house, will you come back and reassess? That's all I got to say.
Anyone else? Going once, going twice?
Mike Lico, Fabius Township. I've been involved with this solar project since day one, and it's always been my understanding that through the state, the project is a real project for the farm ground. I'm not selling or giving up my rights to my ground. I'm just leasing the property. Safety concerns, today's tech, they got bells and whistles, and I think we'll be okay with the batteries, with the technology that we have. The main reason I was involved with the solar is the financial part of it. When you as a township said you didn't want it, I was saying, well, how about if you lease my solar rights to my property? I'm still in a PA 116. I don't lose any of my ag statute from the state. And the solar field will get inside a boundary, so you guys don't have to look at it. And so I'm supporting the solar part of it. I think they can do it safely, and I'm paying property taxes, and I have a right to run it as an ag business. So thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Enos Yoder. I'm a taxpayer in Fabius Township, and the way I understand, there's a big field across the road from me that would be put in solar system, and I don't want to look at that every day, if possible. I'm not totally against solar, but I don't want to look at a big field of solar. I don't know how this is going to charge with a little bit of sunshine that we do get, that it makes it feasible to put in, to install that. But at this time, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone?
Hello, my name's Annette Swartz. I live on Youngs Prairie Road. I happen to live across the street from Kevin and Buffy Mallow. As it stands right now, we're going to end up having solar panels on 3 sides of our house. There's one house to the south of us, so that won't be solar panels there. When we bought the property to build, one of the reasons was the beautiful view that we had, and my husband was raised in the farming community. It just added the value of that property to us. We've worked hard to most of our lives to create a beautiful home. We keep it well landscaped, taken care of. And what is this going to do for the value of our home? They talked about reaching out to the people that have area that will be next to the solar panels. We've not been contacted by anybody. As a matter of fact, we've not been contacted by anybody, period, from the solar company. It's very disappointing. I can understand, and we can deal with the fact that if the solar is back behind our house where we can plant trees, but it's also going to be right next to our house where they're going to have just one small section of solar panels. Why they need to do that, it just doesn't seem like it would be worth it. But we're also concerned about the 250 feet, the vegetation from our property 250 feet out. So they plant one row of trees, one row of shrubs. How are they going to maintain that? What about the property between the edge of the shrubs and our property line? Who's going to maintain that? What's going to be there? Are they just going to let that grow to weeds? Are they going to mow it? These are just details that I think need to be shared in a little more detail with the people that are directly impacted by this solar property, whatever you want to call it. But those are just my concerns as a property owner, that, you know, the value of our home, what's going to happen to that? Is it going to go in the tank? And then what? So those are just my concerns as a landowner, and I would just like everybody to put themselves in our position when they're making this decision. If this was their house and this is where they lived, how would they feel? It might put a little different view in your mind on some of the decisions maybe being made. Thank you.
My name is Jan Broker, and I'm a resident of Fabius Township. I live on M60 on Gleason Road. I have Hubbards in front of me and Rockwell's behind me, and they've both signed on. I don't want solar panels all around. I don't want to spend the rest of my life looking at this crap. And I don't want the residue that comes off of it. So I'm just telling you what I feel. And nobody from this company has come to see me. The only person I saw was Jay Beers when he was in it. Nothing else. Nobody from your company. So, and I'm right in the middle of it. So, just letting you know how I feel.
Anyone else?
Hello, I'm Logan Pearson. I also live across the street from Kevin. I'm one of the 3 houses within the largest portion of this project. We will be surrounded on all 4 sides, unfortunately. A small strip just to the south of us, which that is also unfortunate as well, because that means we also have no window to look out to see. All we see is solar panels. We live in a 2-story home, so your 15-foot trees will more than likely not do much for us. We feel like we were fortunate enough to finally be able to afford a house back in 2020 when interest rates were so low, a home big enough for our 4 kids, and land that I felt like was enough for my children to enjoy. I was raised on a larger parcel of land, so I always had my 4-wheelers and, you know, my toys, and I felt like I finally was able to get that for my children, my 2 oldest boys, and now we just feel like we just bought this house and it has finally become a home for us, and we feel like that home is starting to get taken away from us. We do not like these solars, especially with, like what was said, the heavy metals within them. We understand that solar panels can break, and I don't want my children around any of that crap that can come out. We feel like we are going to try and get out of our home, and we're gonna pretty much be starting over. That's if we can sell our home, being forced to tell people that there are going to be solar panels on all 4 sides of the home. I don't think anybody wants to live around that, so I don't believe we are going to have an easy time selling our home. I understand the value's still there, but what's the value to someone that all they see is solar panels? Yeah, you can say it's still valuable, but not if nobody wants to buy it. So here we are trying to figure out what we want to do, because obviously being within the largest portion of the project, that's probably what they're going to want to start on first. Why wouldn't they? So thank you for putting us in this situation. We appreciate it.
Anyone else?
How you doing? My name's Tony DePonio. I've only lived there for 3 years, and I moved from Nevada, California, Nevada. And not a question for you guys, maybe for you guys. There's like 150 days of sun here, which I'm trying to deal with on my own. There's 300 to 320 days of sun in other parts of the country. Land's cheaper out there. So why here? I mean, has anybody had a solar person come and knock solar for your own home? It wouldn't benefit you at all. I guess I just want to know why here. And I think everybody wants to know why. I mean, you pulled the permit and all that, but why here? I think it's a valid question. Doesn't need to be answered now, but whatever. And it's not like condescending. Just why would you pick an area that has half the sunlight as the rest of the country? I mean, I just don't know. I'm not that smart, so if you let us know, it'd be great. Thank you.
Any more comments? Are we done? Okay, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second. Motion by Judy, second by Eric. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Now we'll enter into any deliberation. Before we start, I would just like to explain that the township does have an ordinance through circumstances.
Could you keep the noise down in the back, please?
We're still trying to hold a meeting, please. If you need a conversation, please take it outside. Thank you. What we're here tonight to do, we have an application before us. A great deal of information for it. As the attorney mentioned, our job this evening is to determine whether or not that application meets our township ordinance. That is what we're here to decide tonight. And if it does, we have to approve it according to the help me out, Seth,
The Zoning Enabling Act.
Zoning Enabling Act. So just a little explanation there of what actually we're deliberating tonight.
Can I say something?
Yes?
I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I want to thank everybody that has come tonight and for your comments. And we hear what you're saying. And as a private citizen, I would say I'm not 100% in favor of this either. But as a township board member and as a planning commission member, I feel I have a duty to the township and its citizens to try to protect it as best that we can in a situation like this. The Planning Commission and Doug and our attorneys, they all saw what was coming down the pipeline with the Michigan legislature, with PA 233, which says that the solar companies do not have to work with us. We happen to have a solar company that's coming in with a project that is willing to work with us and willing to work within our overlay district so that this doesn't go out into the township any farther. It stays on M60. And that's the best way that we have of protecting the township. So we're faced with a challenging situation. You know, we can say no, and they can go to the state. Or we can say yes, and they won't work with us. So we're just trying to make the best of a bad situation. And that's it.
At this point, does anybody have any questions, concerns? I know we've all had a great deal of time to go over this material.
I have a couple.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask, as far as the noise, how is that monitored?
How's it tested?
Well, how do you monitor the decibel level to make sure that it doesn't go above what the ordinance?
We have devices and equipment that will measure the decibel level, and the models that we've used to put the study together are highly accurate in terms of knowing what the sound output is for each type of technology and considering the surrounding area, etc.
Okay, so if by chance something would go haywire, you would be aware of it then and could correct that.
Yeah, it's a requirement to stay at that decibel level, so we would have to correct if there's an issue where the sound is exceeding that level.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question.
We don't have to take questions, sir. I'm sorry. We do have the. Nobody has any? Sure.
So something that I didn't see in the application was what's called a complaint resolution procedure. Okay, and what that is anytime there's a potential issue, right? How does it get resolved? And a lot of developers, they'll come up with their own complaint resolution procedure and include it in its application. The MPSC does have a complaint resolution procedure too that, from what I see, it's supposed to be fairly efficient. There's a form that you fill out online, but I think it would be helpful, depending on how this goes, right? If it, as a potential condition, would to have the developer submit a complaint resolution procedure that does mirror the MPSC, because I could put in the the website into the conditions, but websites change, and I don't think that would maybe be very helpful. So I just think that it may be helpful for the township to have a clear understanding of a complaint resolution procedure for your clarity and also the public's.
Is that something then that we can add in? As
Yes.
Require our stipulation?
Yes, that can be a condition.
We also every year have to provide a log of any sort of complaints or correspondence that we've received from the community. So
that's something you would be agreeable with then?
Yeah.
Okay, if nobody has any other questions about let's move on to the site plan review.
Okay.
Pretty much everything that I've looked at and all the drawings pretty well meets. Does anybody have any issues, any questions, any?
No,
They meet all the setbacks, everything is in there that's required by the ordinance.
Right, and there were a couple of items that they wanted, as far as the fencing.
Well, I've got that list
Okay,
that we'll
okay.
go over
All right.
for
Then I'll
that.
let you do that.
So just a quick comment about fencing. Okay, one of the conditions of approval is that they have to satisfy federal law. Okay, so if there's a federal law, so if there's a federal law standard,
yes,
they have to comply.
Yes.
Okay.
So no questions then on plan review? Okay. All right. The first project request was two parcels that are in the solar district that are contiguous. In our ordinance, we allow to waive the setback. It doesn't make sense to have setback when you've got two fields next to each other. Basically, though, we have it written in our ordinance that we have to agree to that. And that seems like a horrible waste of land to require a setback between two parcels that are contiguous like that. So is everybody all right with that?
Yep.
The second one was the fencing. Our ordinance, we called for a 4-foot fence. Like Seth just mentioned, the codes require 7 foot. So that we have to allow them to put 7-foot fence. But in my travels, I have seen several solar fields where the fencing, rather than chain link, was more of a 7-foot cattle type fence with wooden posts, a little more animal friendly. In other words, allow the smaller animals. Is that something, Ellie, that you're familiar with?
Yeah, I think the main reason why we do the 7-foot chain link fence is for security reasons. So
well, and that was something else I was going to bring up. In other words, somewhere around like the battery storage unit and things of that nature. Obviously, I would agree for the chain link fence, but around the solar arrays, is that something? It just tends to disappear more than a chain link fence.
I think the same concern, if it's an animal fence but 7 feet, it would still permit humans and other things to enter the project. So I think the same safety concern would still be there regardless if it's 4 feet or 7 feet.
Well,
What's the solution?
Pardon me?
There is a concern with NERC, and we don't know if NERC would approve that type of fence.
Well,
So
at some point, there's other solar fields that have it. I've seen it.
Yeah, maybe a middle ground would be that you would require it if we can get approval from any federal.
I would be okay with that. In other words,
and then
again,
we'll attempt to do that.
I think we're all in agreement that, when you have something like, if you have a lot of equipment or something of that nature, obviously, you're gonna wanna put chain link fence, no problem with that. But just, it's something else that we're trying to, I don't know if it's possible to make it aesthetically pleasing, but when I saw that type of fencing, it just tended to disappear rather than the bright chain link or something like that. So yeah, that's something that.
So to follow up with that, that's anticipated when we do, when I recommend proposed conditions, and that's something that I've recommended here regarding site plan modifications, specifically minor site plan modifications, something like that. It would vest the zoning administrator with the discretion to take care of that. If there's a subsequent change, then they'd have to come back to the planning commission for approval on a site plan amendment.
I'm sorry, Seth, I'm having a hard time.
Okay, so no, I'll just repeat myself. So it's anticipated that this type of issue can't come up. So in the conditions that I recommend, I would recommend that the zoning administrator have some discretion on minor site plan amendments without having to come back to the planning commission. That's relatively common. If it's something substantive or the design footprint changes, something like that, they gotta come back for a site plan amendment. Okay?
Everybody all right with that?
Yep.
and then you would be, you know,
Yep.
if you can get approval.
Yep.
It's, this fencing that I'm looking at, it's, the squares are no more than that big.
Okay. Great. Yeah. Can do that.
Change in screening. Explain to me a little bit about what you're talking about there.
Yeah, so what we've been doing and what we'll continue to do until we get to final design is talk to neighbors and landowners. There are some neighbors and landowners that don't want screening at all, and there are some that want more screening. And so we're just asking for the flexibility to shift around screening if there are neighbors or landowners that want more or less. If there are any shifts, obviously we would bring it to the board for your approval, but we would like that flexibility.
For those that can't hear, could she use a microphone to answer you back, since we're all here? We'd like to hear.
I'm sorry.
I'm just asking for an accommodation for my hearing, if she could use a microphone.
I have it on.
No, her.
Oh, okay.
I can go up, yeah. Do you want me to
Apology
go?
accepted.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so in regards to screening, we are ability to continue talking to neighbors and landowners about the specific screening plan around their parcel. There are some neighbors and landowners that don't want screening at all, and there are some that want more screening. And so we would like that flexibility to modify the landscape plan as we have these discussions. Any modifications we would bring forward to you all for your review as well.
We could, in other words, approve it on a case-by-case basis then, basically.
Yep.
Everybody agree with that?
No, I don't have a problem with
You're
that.
all right with that, okay. You might as well just stay there. The number 4 was allow gravel roads in the best storage area. I think our ordinance says we want permeable surfaces, so I don't see that as an issue at all. Everybody okay with that? And then, again, same scenario, in the battery storage area, covering the entire area with gravel. Does several things, fire prevention, water permeation, no runoff. Are they all right with it?
Yep.
And then the final one was the DC cables mounted. We called for, ordinance calls for cables buried in the ground. Our main concern for that, again, was aesthetics. And if you're gonna mount the cable underneath the panel, correct?
Yep.
It's still not visible, which is basically what we were after.
And this is just the DC cabling, so the medium voltage collection that goes from array to ultimately the substation is underground. The DC is only within the panel area, and it lies under the panel itself.
So it
It's
can't
actually,
be seen.
it's fastened right underneath the bottom of the panel.
Yes, if you're inside the solar park looking at panels, you will see it, but from a distance it blends into
Our
the
concern
panels.
was just having a bunch of high, pole lines and things of
Yeah,
that nature.
that'll be underground. Yeah.
So, we all right with that as well? Absolutely.
So just regard the pilings for the solar installation, are you using concrete footings anywhere?
Typically, no. These are just piles driven into the ground.
If there is that something you can depict on your site plan?
Yeah.
Will that exposed wiring be armored?
He asks the question.
Will the exposed wiring be armored in any way? Or will it be just exposed to the environment?
Do you know that answer?
I was going to just say, point to the pictures so that they can see how the wiring is protected.
Oh.
It's protected with like a rubber coating, but not a...
And my concern would be that animals are going to get into the yard and they like to chew on wires.
We've had that issue with another park where we actually did bury the wires, and then there were burrowing animals, mice, that were getting into the wires because they were buried. So we've had more success with wires when we don't bury them to protect against.
Besides the fact that they're much easier to see and fix.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
All right with it? Okay, I think that's, unless you had anything else. And then you're all right with a complaint resolution process?
Yes. Yep. We have templates, or if you all have a template too.
I'm sure you've probably dealt with that in the past as well.
Yep.
Seth, you have anything?
So if there's no other questions from the planning commissioners to the applicant, the next step would be to go through the findings of facts. Okay, looking at
the way you would do it is twofold. You've got two separate uses here. You've got solar and you've got battery. So the standards are the same, but you got to do the analysis for each use. So the way I would structure the finding of facts is start with solar, do your findings, and then move on to battery, do your findings. And then after that would be site plan. And with your ordinances, they essentially work together. The site plan is submitted is for solar and battery, so it would be one analysis. Then after you do that, I can talk to you more about conditions. Do you want me to help you run through the?
Yes.
Okay, let's keep going. Sorry, I'm sorry.
I was hoping you would.
So, okay, so looking at your standards of review, it's going to be contained in your township zoning ordinance under section 46-620 paren C. What that does is it provides that conditional or special exception uses are not permitted in a particular zoning district in which they are listed, and it lists until the planning commission, in its absolute discretion, is satisfied that such uses under the conditions, controls, limitations, and circumstances and safeguards imposed by the commission meet the following criteria. Okay, that's right from your zoning ordinance. So now there's 4 standards of criteria. The first standard is such uses are compatible with other uses expressly permitted within the district, the natural environment, and the capabilities of public services and facilities affected by the land use. So that is contained in a draft findings in front of you. I included that so you could see it and work through it. We could work through it together. So the recommendation now would be to look at that standard and then just talk through it to determine whether you feel it's satisfied or not.
Does everybody have that on there?
Are we looking at this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Page 3. Share with her. Okay. So you just want to read through each one?
Right, just looking at the first standard that I just read off. So if you're on page, I think you said it was page 3, is it?
Yep.
Page 3, if you look at, so it's going to be titled Large Scale Solar Energy Systems, Paren 1. That's going to be the actual standard. Okay, so is it compatible with other uses expressly permitted within the district? So in this case, the solar is located in what district? Our overlay district. So is that compatible in the overlay district? That's what we're going to ask ourselves. Okay. Is it compatible with the natural environment within that district? And the capacities of public services and facilities affected by that land use? Is there a substation nearby?
Yes.
So those are the types of things you're going to want to consider whether or not that standard is satisfied.
Does everybody find that it meets the standards?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So give me, I'm writing it down as we go through, so let me just,
That's
sorry,
fine.
just a moment.
So then does that take us to number 3?
Just work down to number 2 and work down the list.
That such use would not in any manner be detrimental or injurious to the use of the development of adjacent properties, to the occupants thereof, or to the general neighborhood. that's a bit of a tough one.
Yeah.
Because it could be a detriment to the property values. It's possible, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not something.
I'm not a real estate person.
Well,
Mr. Chairman?
here it says, you know, and would it promote the use of land both socially and economically desirable? I guess it depends on who you ask.
The independent engineers did not flag any.
No, they
any
did
issues.
not, and we did have independent engineers, so I would have to say that it does. Did it?
Okay, that it does not.
It does not, sorry.
Okay. That such uses would promote public health, safety, morals, or general welfare of the community, would encourage the use of the land in accordance with their character and adaptability, would promote the conservation of natural resources and energy, and would promote the land use in a social, economic, and desirable manner. That's a mouthful.
What one are you on?
Number 3.
Okay. I would say it's okay.
Seth, question on number 3. Should that not read, in other words, that it would promote, should that not read the opposite? In other words, would
So the
harm?
standard's right from your zoning ordinance.
Sorry?
The standard is right from your zoning ordinance. So when I say promote health, safety, morals, general welfare of the community, would promote the conservation of natural resources and energy. These standards are generally similar from township to township. So when I see that conserve natural resources and energy, I see townships weigh the balance of how a renewable energy does that. And there's different opinions on that, but that's for this planning commission to
Well, it's
to
obviously,
reconcile.
it's conserving the land because it's resting, but
And then if there's any economic desirable, what are the economic benefits? It does talk about that too. It does say economically desirable manner. So how is that an economic design? Is it the design plan? Are you waiving internal setbacks between participating parcels?
yes.
Yes.
So a lot of times when zoning ordinances allow for that and you're waiving those internal setbacks, you're shrinking the scope of the project footprint rather than having setbacks for between the participating parcels. So I see townships say, well, it's more economical to do that from the design than because we want to shrink the footprint of the project, so it provides more protection to surrounding land uses.
What Seth said.
Okay, so everybody agree that's yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That the conditions, standards, and limitations imposed by the planning commission in permitting such conditional or special exemption use can and will, in judgment of the commission, be met at all times by the applicant.
I believe so.
Yes. Okay, battery energy solar system. Same thing. Such uses are compatible with the uses expressly permitted within the district and environmental and capacities on public service and facilitated effectively by the land use.
Yes.
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 Such uses that are not in any manner to detrimental or injurious to the development of adjacent properties, occupants thereof, in the general neighborhood. It's the same as the other one. finds that such uses would promote the public health, safety, and morals and the general welfare of the community, would encourage the use of land in accordance with their character and applicability, would promote to conservation of the natural resources and energy, and would promote the use of the land in a social and economically desirable manner. Yes. That the conditions, standards, and limitations imposed by the Planning Commission in permitting such conditional and special exception use will and be in judgment of the Commission be met at all times by the applicant.
Yes.
Yes.
Tell me why.
I'm sorry?
Can you just explain upon that? You said the conditions, standards, and limitations imposed by the Planning Commission in permitting the conditional or special use will, in the judgment of the Commission, be met all times by the applicant. Why do you think that?
The ordinance requires them to maintain the plantings throughout the life of the project. They are required to keep it in good working repair throughout the life of the project. They are.
Are you satisfied with actual cost? Like, so when I see this, like, are you satisfied with the commissioning? Are you satisfied with the emergency response plan?
Yes.
Yes. In other words, they have in their application provided everything that our ordinance requires. They have obtained permitting that was required to get the application. And then the Williams & Works did the survey that also found that the application met all the requirements of our ordinance.
Yeah, Williams & Works didn't have any problems. Williams & Works did not have any problems.
So if those are the 4 standards that you just went through for solar energy systems, okay, and I summarized that in the findings. So if you're satisfied with how you tailored those findings, then the next step would be going to the battery energy solar systems, or the battery energy storage systems. And it's the same standards, right? But we have to do it's a different use, right? Solar is different than battery, but the special land use standards and analysis is the same, or the standards are the same. So you just have to go through and essentially do the same type of findings that you did.
That's what we just did.
Yeah. Okay, so you did it for both.
He started the second set of findings.
Okay, I was a little bit behind. Thank you.
Really?
How could you be?
They made me do it again.
You don't have to do it 3 times.
Oh.
If I could have just a moment, please.
Problem.
So now that you've gone through the standards, the analysis, special land use review for the solar and the battery, the next is to do site plan review. And for these, what I do is I defer to whoever did the site plan review, and in this case it was Doug. So I would defer to Doug on this.
Everything in the site plan that I saw meets or exceeds the standards of the zoning ordinance and your conditions.
And we found the same thing.
With the exception of the fence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Addressing.
The fencing. But that's part of that's a code issue, so.
Correct.
So, now that you've done the special land use review and that you've done the site plan review, the next step is essentially, now you're gonna make a decision. Okay, and generally, what we do is we do it by resolution, be it resolved. Someone would essentially make that motion, someone would support it. And the way I structured this, the resolution is it's you're going to request to approve or deny it, okay? And that's what you have to decide. And then we can talk about conditions, okay? So there would be an approval subject, if there's approval, subject to the following conditions. And I could go over, those are important. Conditions I think are important, especially with these types of projects. So if that's the decision this would go, then we could talk about conditions after you make that resolution. You decide whether to approve or deny.
So I don't need to mention the conditions.
Well, so the way the motion is, the way the resolution is structured in the handout that I gave you, it says subject to the reasonable conditions attached to the resolution. Okay, and then I prepared draft resolutions that I could run you through, and we could revise them, you could keep them, you could delete them, whatever you want.
Does the motion for approval or disapproval need to have the conditions in?
No, because we're referencing it as attachment to the resolution.
Okay. Anybody have any more comments, questions? Well, at this point then, I'd like to make a motion to approve the site plan review for the parcels that are identified in the application and the staff report, approve the special exemption use permit for the parcels that are identified in the application and staff report, with the following condition that also be sent to the Fabius Township Board for approval of a decommissioning agreement, and they're given their final approval. Does that work for you?
Well, it's going to be your motion. Okay, so what you're going to be doing is it's the recommendation approval. From what I heard, conditional and site plan. Conditional and special land use and site plan. Right. Further project, 178 megawatt large commercial or large solar energy system that also includes a 122 megawatt battery energy storage system. And I believe that's located on the 25 parcels that's located within the township. And then there would be an exhibit identifying what those parcels are.
That was what I said in the motion.
Yep. And then also in consideration of the recommendations and conclusions contained in the staff report, which is Doug's, the Williams and Works report, in review of the legal memorandum, and then subject to the following resolution. I think that summarizes what your motion would be. Yes, you're Roxanne, waiting for you. Yeah.
Seth, I think that in general in this township, the zoning ordinance allows the planning commission to make the special use decision as final. Okay, so what they thought they would do in this case, number one is they also wanted the township board to approve it, which I believe is where Randy was getting at.
Correct.
And then secondly, what we thought was that the decommissioning agreement and the emergent, whatever, the safety agreement, those would be separate contracts with the township board, but that the planning commission would make them subject to the board approving those separate items.
Okay.
Customarily, we've been, the larger projects, we required that, like our master plan and things of those
Right.
natures, also approval of the township board, and that's what we want to do.
So I think on page 6, if you look at the condition that I recommended B, decommissioning, I said prior to the issuance of a zoning permit and a building permit, the applicant and the township board shall enter into a decommissioning agreement with the township board that outlines the specific requirements of decommissioning. Okay, so
But
that's for the decommissioning. Okay, so in other words, if there's an approval, it's still conditioned upon the township board executing the decommissioning agreement.
Correct.
And then also too, I heard fire response. I want to make sure I get that correct too. And you said that the township board, you're recommending that they enter into a contract with the board regarding a
Just the agreement, yeah, however they decide to
In other
phrase
words,
that.
to set the actual decommissioning cost and things of that nature.
Okay. I got that in there.
You good?
Yes, sir.
And you need a support.
There's a motion on the floor, I'm looking for a second.
I'll support.
Motion, I made the motion by Schmeling, support by Judy. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Well,
Opposed?
let's do the
roll
conditions
call.
too, okay?
Do you have suggested conditions?
I do. So the suggested conditions I have, okay, I'm gonna run through them right now with you so you understand, okay? So you understand what these are. Under the Zoning Enabling Act being MCL 3504, the Planning Commission may attach reasonable conditions to a special land use approval to ensure compatibility with adjacent uses of land and to promote the land use in a social, economically desirable manner. The conditions are as follows. Okay, these are the ones I'm recommending to you. Okay, first one I think is straightforward. They have to comply with all state, local, and federal laws. Okay, they have to do that anyway, but I like that specified in the conditions. Decommissioning, we talked a little bit about this a couple minutes ago. Prior to issuance of a zoning permit and a building permit, the applicant and the township board shall enter into a decommissioning agreement with the township board that outlines the specific decommissioning requirements of the project, including posting a financial instrument, surety bond basically, with the township that provides for decommissioning of the entire project. The township will not accept salvage value as part of any decommissioning bond. When we talk about the surety bond, the applicant shall update its surety bond every 5 years to be approved by the Township Planning Commission. Thereafter, the applicant shall provide the updated surety bond to address costs of inflations at cost to the applicant. The applicant shall provide a written proof annually to the township clerk that the financial security or performance guarantee is valid. The reason why I put that in there is because sometimes the sureties or the letters of credit that we get, they're not all irrevocable. So we just want to make sure that it's in effect. Okay, because when you actually get it, it'll say on there, you know, when it expires. And some of them automatically review, some of them you got to contact the financial institution. There's different things. So whatever it may be, you just need to make sure that it's in effect throughout the life of this project. Okay? Drains, When I talked about drainage prior to construction, if required, the applicant shall enter an agreement with the county drain commission and post any financial obligations required by them. We can't compel them, the county and the applicant, to do something, but what we're saying is just check in with them. If they make you do something, you gotta do. Same thing with roads. Cooperation with the Eagle Grant Award application, what that means is right now the state set aside grant money for any local units that approve these types of projects within their municipality. And the grant money is 5,000 a megawatt. So that could be used for any public purpose. If there's an approval, you gotta get an intended use plan up to the state within 30 days. And they will assist us with that if they need it. I believe that the applicant, the developer, has to submit some information too if they haven't done it already. They need to do that, and then you get in line for that grant money. Okay. I'm not the state, I can't guarantee anything, but that's what the Eagle Award is right now.
That's the material at this point.
There's as-built. What that means is they're just going to provide post-construction certification to the zoning administrator, showing that the project complies with all codes and industry practices. Site plan modifications, we discussed this previously. The Planning Commission grants the zoning administrator and planning consultant at their discretion the authority to review and approve the request of the applicant to change improvement locations from the site, so long as they're in accordance with the zoning ordinance, and it's not a material change. Okay, if it is, then it's got to come back for site plan amendment. Start of construction, I always recommend that the applicant shall have. So, Doug, in your zoning ordinance, how long does someone, an applicant, if they receive special land use approval, do they have before they have to start construction?
12 months.
So 12 months. So essentially, I think you have is that waiver, is that only for landscaping, Doug, or is that for anything within the ordinances, within the solar ordinance and battery?
That's in the permitting section, period. So.
Okay, so a lot of times with these projects, they might, if they get an approval, they might not start construction in a year for various reasons. Okay, I don't know your timeline for construction, but you also, they also likely could come back and renew. Okay, so you can do it a couple ways. You could require them to come back and renew annually, or you could say we're going to give you a certain amount of time. And then if at the end of that period of time, if you don't start, then you got to come back for a renewal. So I see planning commissions do it anywhere from 2 years, 3 years, whatever you think it is. I wouldn't go more than 3, but that's typically what I see.
So we can override the ordinance?
Yeah.
Their construction date is planned for 2027, so.
So in that case, I think I'd recommend 3 years. Okay.
It just means if it's started, right? You don't have to complete it.
Correct.
No, it's just starting.
Yeah, so that's probably a good idea.
And I have in there the township shall not unreasonably withhold approvals of extensions, because if you do, they're going to sue you.
What else is new?
Notice of construction, the applicant shall postmark 15 days before commencement of construction, mailed notice to the township and to the property owners contained in the public hearing notice. That way, we talked about that before, but that way everybody knows when it's going to happen. Construction hours, I think you need to discuss this. Construction, delivery, loading, unloading hours shall be between the hours of what? Monday through Friday. And Saturday, if you want to allow work, don't let them start before a specific time. Okay, so whatever, 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock on Saturday. But that's what you need to decide. I typically, Monday through Friday, it's going to be your decision. I see 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., but if you think 7 a.m. is too early, you can bump it, whatever you think.
I think 7 might be too early. Do you think 7 might be too early for neighbors? On a weekday? No? Okay.
Construction guy, sorry. Start at 6.
No earlier than 7.
Okay, so 7 a.m. to what time in the evening?
Do you normally have, what hours do, is that something?
7?
No?
Yeah.
To what?
7 to 7.
Oh, hours.
Is that, are we going to 7 a to 7 p, or what do you think?
I believe it at 6.
Yeah, let's, I say 6.
6 o'clock,
Yeah.
7 to 6.
Yeah.
Now, something that comes up from time to time is, in the winter months, right, the days are shorter, and then in the summer, it's longer daylight hours. So sometimes what the developers ask for, in the summertime when there's more light, can we work past that cutoff of 6 p.m.? And what I say is, what I ask PCs if they want to do it is, you can only do it if the supervisor approves it. And that would be a decision, for you. You could either keep them to the hours that we said, 7A to 6P. In the summertime, if you want to give them a little bit more flexibility, the reasons I hear is they just want to get the construction done and it's over quicker. But that's up to the planning commission to decide how to handle
We
that.
have to set months then.
I would just it's on written consent of the supervisor, so you're not setting months.
Can
Yeah, I mean,
we set a time
in the
and then
summertime,
down the road change our mind?
They ought to be able to work more hours.
Right. I'm sorry?
Can we set a time like the 6 p.m. and then down the road change?
So
Or do
generally,
we have to have it set in stone?
generally we're not.
Okay.
We're not going to do that.
Okay.
But you're saying that if we can put the stipulation in there that what the supervisor can,
This is upon written confirmation of the supervisor. So if it's whatever June 10th, and they say, hey, I want to, work a little bit later from, during the summer months, then you just put in writing, the supervisor can sign it.
all right?
Okay.
Add that.
I think we talked about the surety bond already.
Yep.
Transfer of ownership. So the applicant shall notify the transfer. The applicant shall notify the township in writing at the time of the transfer, any transfer, of ownership, operator, or maintenance provider via certified mail, and that would be going to the township's address, to the attention of the supervisor, the clerk, and the planning commission chairperson.
That should have the P.O. box, because we don't get mail at the physical
Okay,
address.
what's
It's,
your P.O.
P.O.
box?
box 455.
Is it that address and then P.O. box?
No, just Fabius Township, P.O. box 455.
Can you indicate like in person or via certified mail? Because what happens when it sends certified mail is it sits there until you sign for it.
Right.
So I suspect they'll be able to find someone in person.
What was the P.O. box number again?
455.
455 Three Rivers.
Or in person.
Or personal service upon the supervisor. Continuing obligation of future owners operating on the signs. So like I said, sometimes these projects do sell, okay, or transfer in. We can't stop that from happening. But what we're saying is that that's going to happen. Whoever the future owners, operators, or assigns are, but they still have to comply with these conditions. Okay, special land use runs with the land, all right, and so do these conditions. So this is what, and that's why I said about recording it. Puts everybody on notice that that's a condition of approval. Okay, so emergency response plan, and I know we talked about this a little bit earlier. It says the applicant shall execute a contract with the township board regarding an emergency response plan prior to issuing a zoning permit or building permit. Is that what the plan commission wanted?
Do we want to add approval of the fire chief as well?
I suspect that the township board will seek approval of the fire chief before it does any agreement.
We will.
In that condition that's in front of you that I gave samples, it goes into a little bit more detail, okay? Maintenance and landscaping, the applicant shall reasonably maintain the plant material installed as part of the vegetative buffer for the life of the project.
I don't like the word consumer in there.
Yeah, I got rid of consumer. The applicant shall replace any dead, diseased plant material as required by the township zoning ordinance throughout the life of the project. The applicant shall work with adjacent property owners for reasonable planting of additional screening. Okay. Complaint resolution procedure, that's a new one that I added in, and all it says is the applicant shall submit to the township a complaint resolution procedure consistent with the process established by the MPSC. The applicant shall provide the township an annual report of all submitted complaints and resolutions to the same.
That's back up to the other one, Seth, about the screening.
Yes.
That was, what was the conditions of that?
Sure. So to begin, the applicant shall reasonably maintain the plant material installed as part of the vegetative buffer for the life of the project. The applicant shall replace any dead or diseased plant material as required by the township ordinances throughout the life of the project. The applicant shall work with adjacent property owners for reasonable planting of additional screening.
Well, it was additional or less screening, and that was on a case-by-case basis approved by the planning commission.
So what I'm going to add there is, as approved by the planning commission before the issuance of a zoning building permit.
Well, that might be an ongoing thing too.
Okay, I'll just leave it as approved by the planning commission.
That might come up down the road where somebody wants to change something.
So with that said, then those are the conditions that I recommend. That's consistent with battery and storage applications that I've seen in the past. We've gone through a bunch of them. I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm telling you what I see in other projects, and those are, for the most part, what we see.
So at this point, do we add the rest of those conditions?
So those are the conditions, okay, that are going to be attached to that resolution.
We've got the fencing, and
the fencing is going to be covered by the first condition, which is they have to comply with all applicable ordinances and federal laws.
We were asking for the cattle fencing if they can get it approved on certain areas.
The applicant shall.
I don't know what else to call it.
Can you say it again?
Cattle fence or animal fencing.
If the applicant can get
A game fence?
Yeah. Yes, they said yes.
Okay. If approval is granted by the appropriate agency.
Right.
Okay. So I think we got all the conditions. So I saw.
Well, we've got a couple more.
Okay, yeah.
The roads are allowed to be gravel.
So the internal access roads, those are generally gravel, and I think that's going to be depicted in the site plan. So
Okay,
that wouldn't necessarily be,
fine,
yeah.
because I'm pretty sure it's in our,
I
our ordinance, it says they're supposed to be, permeable surface anyway, so.
I'll put a note in there that internal project access roads may be gravel. Okay.
In the battery storage unit area, the ground will be covered with gravel.
So the footprint for battery storage?
Yes. Within the, I think it reads within the fenced-in area of the battery storage unit.
Is that also depicted on the site plan?
Yes.
Okay. So let's do that one more time.
Within the fenced-in area of the battery storage unit, the ground will be covered with gravel.
So I wrote that up as the ground surface shall be gravel within the fenced-in area of the battery energy storage system footprint as depicted in the site plan.
Correct. And the last one was DC cabling will be mounted underneath the solar panel as opposed to buried.
DC cabling shall be
Mounted under the solar panel as opposed to being buried.
I'm also going to add, I'd like to add in that what we talked about earlier, all concrete footings be depicted on the site plan.
Oh,
Okay. That'll also be addressed in the decommissioning agreement, but I would like.
Well, at this point, most of them are. But there are special details yet.
Okay.
That's all I have.
So with those conditions then, you made the motion to pass the resolution, which was supported. And I think now you're just at the point where you have to, you vote.
Do we take a roll call?
You could do a roll call vote, that's
Required on a resolution. Sure, Mr. Neal.
Here.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Mr.
Now you
Schmaling.
do a roll call.
Yes.
Mrs. Holman.
Yes.
And Mr. Kopp.
Yes.
Are we good?
Yep.
We all right? You good, Seth? Everything?
yes, sir.
Okay, moving forward. Reports, Doug,
We already got his.
0.
Yeah, I think we've
Yeah.
done enough talking tonight.
Judy,
No, I have nothing.
same. Zoning Board of Appeals, we had no hearings. Correspondence, yeah, we had quite a few correspondence, and they're all entered into the record concerning the solar energy and battery storage. New business, I don't have any at this point. Public comment.
Good evening. Again, my name is Nicole Cover, spelled C-O-V-E-R. I just wanted to follow up with the good conversation we had with you on April 8th, 2025, if you remember, maybe at the Planning Commission meeting. We had approached you guys about a bed and breakfast. You said that you had to speak with your legal counsel. It seems like you've been talking with them a lot lately, so I just wondered if maybe we had any follow through on that. And then the quote was, lots of discussion will need to take place and have to go to the township board. And then there was questions about safety and getting input. So just wanted to remind you that we want to work with you and whatever we can do to help move that process forward. We just feel 8 months, we would just like to have something back as far as what our options might be. Thank you.
Anyone else? All done? Judy?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
How's that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? We are adjourned.